Welcome to Men Are Forged podcast. This is Cartwright Morris, your host. Thanks for listening today. If you are interested in a coaching session with me, please log on to my website, menareforged.com, and you can click on schedule a free call, where if you got any questions actually about my coaching or even my course, you can schedule a call with me, and I'd happy to talk to you 5-10 minutes. Just, anything you'd like to know. So, but yeah, if you are interested in some coaching, life, or professional development, please go to menareforged.com, and you can click on schedule a session under my coaching page, as well as going to calvertandassociates.com and schedule an appointment with me. I do 30-minute virtual sessions, so if you don't live in the city of Birmingham or in the Birmingham area, please look me up there, and I'd love to grab a coaching session with you and see how I can help you grow, learn, and become more the man you're called to be. So anyway, menareforged.com or calvertandassociates.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Now, here's today's episode. All right. Got an exciting episode today on Men Are Forged. A good friend of mine, Matthew Blade, coming from L.A., but don't mistake him for an L.A. guy. That dude is Mississippi born and bred.
I've got a gun right there. I'm looking at it.
So how is it a Southern guy? How are you handling the LA life, the SoCal life?
Man, I feel like a country boy that's lost.
Right.
On the weekends, I definitely have to take my time because I do love the outdoors. So there's a lot of times I'm heading to the mountains or the beach or something to get out of just that feel of being in LA or in a city. So
yeah, you got into surfing much?
I haven't actually been as much as I'd like to here in LA. I did an internship in San Diego a couple of years back, and that's when I actually really kind of caught the bug for surfing. So, but I mean, I do it occasionally. It's kind of more of a social thing. I'll do it with some buddies, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, I'm in one of the best places to surf in the world. It's amazing. So
yeah, that's cool. Well, dude, yeah. I mean, the first question I love to ask my guests is, who were your early influences? Before you kind of stepped into adulthood, who you feel like really shaped your thinking, defined masculinity, really kind of was one of those big staples in your life. So,
yeah. It's interesting because I feel like it shifted so much, and it has shifted so much here in the last 5 years. And I also think in a lot of ways, I didn't really know what that was growing up. I was searching for what true masculinity was. And I think there was things that I latched onto that I thought it was this. But, if I could name names, I mean, I am a huge George Strait fan, and he actually influenced, ironically enough, he influenced my acting too. I saw a movie with him. He did a movie called Pure Country, right? It's an okay movie.
Right.
It's
not like his acting skills. We'll say that.
Right. But I remember I watched it and I heard that the whole movie kind of follows him and this is love story. Mm-hmm. And he never kissed the actors he was playing alongside with. Mm-hmm. And I heard that was because he wanted to show his wife that he respected her. And I just remember being like, wow, that's like a guy who has the shiny things, and yet he still operates in integrity. Yeah. And it's funny because as I'm saying this, I came into acting, it's I'm not kissing anybody, but now I do that. So my mind has been changed on it. But I think the point is, that I just saw someone who didn't what everyone out here was saying, this is what you should do. Mm-hmm. They lived in a different zone where they got their right and wrong, their center from from something else. Like they stood with their own convictions, even though it wasn't kind of the common thing.
Yeah.
So I remember that marked me in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. George Strait. What a great
legend, man.
There.
King George, dude. He's an absolute legend.
I mean, that was when I found out that he was a faithful husband for years, especially after listing all my exes live in Texas.
Right.
So I hang my hat in Tennessee. You're like, right. Oh, that was not real. That was just a song.
It was, yeah. I don't even know if he wrote that song, like somebody probably wrote that song, put it on his desk. He was like, yeah, let's write this thing, So
yeah, that's funny. And I always think about George Strait, like he's like a fine wine. The older I get, the better I enjoy him. Like he is,
right. He really is
so good. Well, Matthew, yeah. So, moving to, you grew up in Mississippi, in Jackson area, right? Yeah.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Went to Ole Miss, went to college. What was your college experience like? What were some of the things you learned and had to unlearn maybe?
Shoot, man. College for me was tough. It was really tough. But yeah, I went to University of Mississippi, and my first 2 years there, I really struggled, not because I was I wasn't partying. I wasn't doing the thing that Ole Miss is maybe known for. I remember feeling very isolated because I had some big changes in my life happen. And I was also dealing with a stutter. I used to have a stutter. And it was more around, it was kind of like a nervous system thing. And when I got really nervous, I would just kind of lock up. And I remember having a couple of conversations on the phone, and literally trying to talk on the phone and just being like, the word wouldn't come out, and just the feeling of humiliation that I felt. And so I think what that kind of triggered in me was I want to hide away. And so I remember feeling so isolated. And I just kind of started just backing away from maybe, the word I'm thinking right now is expressing who I was. I was just okay, I've got to conform. I can't. Communicating actually makes me feel pain. I know that can sound very vague right now, but yeah. So it was tough, and my college was also split in between two times. I did 2 years at Ole Miss, and then I moved to Redding, California, and did 2 years there at a ministry school. And then I moved back after 2 years and finished my college degree. So, but it was interesting, I kind of feel like a unicorn in a way, because I love the South. I have some of my most dear people in the South. But at the same time, there's something in me that I'm I want to fit in. I just don't down there. And I've kind of come to terms with that in the past 3-4 years. And same thing. I moved out here to California. I'm I want to fit in up here, but there's just something in me I'm a little different. I guess there's a lot of the South in me when I come to California, and there's a lot of California in me when I come to Mississippi. But, so it was tough, man. To be honest with you, it was tough.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, what led to then I get you saying man, just not feeling like this is your place.
Totally.
Yeah. And then do you feel like that was what led to the stutter? Was you just feeling very insecure about where you were, or have you figured out where that came from?
I'm not exactly sure where the stutter came from. I think it was just a nervous thing. And I had also when I was 17, I had become a Christian, right? So I had had this big life change. And so I think that was reforming a lot of things in my mind. I was seeing the world in a different way. Yeah. And I think with that, maybe that brought up some anxiety. I was giving myself permission to look at certain things in my life that I maybe had kind of pushed to the side. Right. And with that brought this anxiety up. And so, I think it was a good thing though, because it needed to come out, because I since don't deal with that anymore. But it was, I think that's why I came out.
Yeah. So what then led to you 2 years being at school? I mean, where me and you met, I know, a place called Jay's Ranch,
That's right.
I don't know many people know that you were a river guide out there.
Right.
So what led to the big decision of like, man, I got to put 2 years of this down, and I don't want to pour into this experience right now. I want to go to Reading and be in a ministry school and pour into myself spiritually. What led to that? Today's episode is brought to you by Thrive Marriage Lab. If you want your marriage to thrive, this is a great opportunity to you, because strong marriages are the bedrock of strong churches, organization, families, and community. This is a 12-month pathway for any of you that are looking to really have weekly engagement with experienced marriage counselors, not just one, but many. So go to restory.life/thrive to get on the waiting list for this great program that starts in April. That's restory.life/thrive. And make sure you put the word Forge in the promo code to receive a discount on your monthly fee. Now, back to the episode.
Well, the summer before that was probably one of the most impactful summers of my life. I went out to JH, where I met you. And I had this massive fear around the stutter, right? And it would come and go. Like there was times when I could talk clear, and there was times when, especially publicly, that it would really lock up. I'd have some pretty traumatic memories of public speaking and not being able to get some words out. But essentially that summer, something changed in me to where I was like, I no longer can live a complacent life, a compromised life. And what honestly spurred it on is I was at JH Ranch, and this lady who had no idea who I was, walked up to me, and she put her hand on my shoulder, and she said, "The stammering tongue shall be made fluent in the name of Jesus." And she said, "Matthew, you're on a path where no stammer or stutter can keep you from." And so, wow. And I at first started laughing because I was like, how in the world does she know that? Like, how do you know I deal with the stutter? Like, right. Like she had, like, I've never seen this woman before, and 100% never talked to her. And I laughed at first, and then all of a sudden it hit. And I remember like a ton of emotion came out because the weight of just carrying that thing and hearing that's what, that God thought about my stutter, that he was going to that there was like a promise there that this thing would be kind of smoothed over, and that was what I could put my hope in. Yeah. And, with that, it was so personal to me that it gave me the courage to look at my life and go, okay, maybe I can have significance in my life. Maybe I can aim at that. Wow. Maybe I can, I don't know, live a life that means something to me, and hopefully it'll bless other people. And so, after that was the very beginning of the summer. I started looking into my life, and I was like, okay, why am I going to college? I started asking myself why, all these questions. Why am I just doing this because everyone else is doing this too? There's this formula that everyone is following, and that's not necessarily bad. But I think as I was looking at my life, I was like, why am I doing that? For me, it felt like a compromise. For me to do that meant for me to say that life is just paying bills, and there's nothing really significant about it. So for me to say that we have one life and it's significant, I have to live my life on the edge of what is possible in my mind.
Yes.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. Yeah, absolutely. There was this seed of there's something more, and I have to go find it. I can't just leave it dormant. I got to go figure it out, and I'm not going to do it. Find it doing the same thing I've always done.
100%.
And I think that's what's interesting about, if anything I could share to my audience is if you want something different, stop doing what you've always done,
That's a word right there.
Yeah. And so, but what was, but here's the next step. And then I think this is what keeps people in that place is the pushback, the cultural norms of like trying to no, you just keep going down the road. You'll have everything you ever wanted. What was the pushback like and how did you respond?
Man, you tell somebody when you're from Mississippi, you tell somebody that you're going to live in California to do a ministry school or then be an actor, the looks that you get. Gosh. And I had so many people worried about me, which was honestly, it was painful, man, to have people who were worried about when I actually just needed them to believe in me. As I look back and process that time, I'm like, man, I know in my heart, I can honestly say I was making the decisions for the right reasons. Right. Don't say that. Look at me. I'm just saying I can go, okay, I was doing this because I genuinely wanted to better my life, to follow God and to serve others and to be met with kickback, hurt, but it was important. I really believe I wouldn't trade it. I needed it. I needed to know that I could stand alone and that I had what it took to walk away from the crowd. If everyone was going, good job, Matthew. Right. I wouldn't have those things that I'm using right now as an actor in a tough industry. And I've seen that stuff carry me through seasons where I'm like, yo, I learned how to take a punch from people that I cared about. That's good. And so now when I come into this thing where there's people that I don't really care about, because I don't know them, they're just like people way out there that will have a say in my life and my acting. And I'm like, actually, you don't get to tell me who I am or tell me how to live my life. I get my values from up here and I will follow that. And there's actually a lot of joy that comes when you're like, you know what? People don't accept me in a sense, but I'll tell you, the payback when the script flips is unreal. Right. And I'll leave it at that. It's there's people who will criticize you and then they'll, oh man, I'm so proud of you. And I'm so thankful. I'm like, oh, thank you for being proud of me. Yeah. I really needed you when I was hurting.
Right. When it was hard.
When it was hard, I really needed you right there. But I'm also at the same time, I understand their point of view and go, hey, I get that I was kind of like this threat and this weird thing, and you were genuinely worried about me. You cared for me. So, yeah, I think that's part of life, though, Carl. Right? I'm like, dude, there's something about and there's a book called The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. And it kind of talks about, the story that's been told 1,000 times. And a lot of people who write scripts use this kind of, it's a form, not a formula. Right. And it's just kind of this is kind of what human beings gravitate to in a story. But if you look at the life of humans, it's kind of what we want to do with our own lives. We want to kind of face the unknown, to leave this ordinary life that we've known for so long. And to go out into this uncharted world and go, okay, who am I? I got to figure out who I am. And I can't know in the ordinary world. I have to go to the new special world. That's what Joseph Campbell calls it. But
yeah, there's something so true that when you're surrounded by the familiar, it's hard to really get a perspective that's broader. Like that moment where you I am significant and I am meant to live a significant life. And so I have to step out from what I know is familiar. That's really good.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So you end up coming back and finishing school.
Yep.
And really what happened after that? What led to your decision to say, you know what? I mean, I'm a Southern guy from Mississippi who loves to hunt, likes to be outdoors, but wants to be an actor. And who used to have a stutter also. There's that part too. I want to stand in front of people and talk as an actor.
Great
enunciate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A little more in that transition.
It's without going into too much detail, I guess when I hit like 22, I call it my season where I fell. I'd been to this ministry school, so I was like following God and, trying my best to be a good Christian. And it's funny because some of the stuff in your heart, if you don't deal with it, it'll come back up. And
right.
And I ended up falling, for lack of better words, as a Christian, and essentially living a double life. I was having this cognitive dissonance. I was living one way, but I didn't believe that was the right way to live, and I knew it the whole time. And so it started to tear at me on the inside.
Yeah,
this was at my second round at college.
Yeah,
and I ended up stopping doing the dumb stuff that I was doing.
Yeah,
because it wasn't helping me. It wasn't helping anybody else. Mm-hmm. And I started to take another look at my life again. I was kind of back to square one. I was like, okay, do I want to live a compromised life? What do I want to do with my life? And at this point, I actually did not know I wanted to be an actor. I didn't know I wanted to be an actor until I was like 26. So I graduated college, and I was like, I have to like find that thing that I had before, that thing that said, I'm not going to compromise. I'm going to live a life that's worth living. And so I actually went out and worked at JH Ranch again. I could never really, I guess, get away from that place at first, because I think that there was something I needed to go through there. Yeah. And I ended up doing my dream job there. I was the head river guide. It was my dream job at the time. And it was like awesome. I was like running the river program, just guiding people all day long on the river. And
which I thought on the river, I remember as a pause, like the head river guide, you got to be in front of the group of people a lot. You got to teach, you got to show, you got to give instructions. And so you got to be on point. You got to be organized. You're the conductor of everything.
It was so much more than I thought it was. I was like, as a regular river guide, you're like, that's not that hard. And then I get there and I was like, holy, this is a whole different ballgame. I mean, it's like, it wasn't even about being a river guide, because being a regular river guide is mainly about river guiding. But being the head river guide is about learning how to lead people. Yeah. And that's what I didn't realize going in. And I learned a lot of really valuable lessons there that I had to kind of learn the hard way a couple of times. Yeah. But
let me just hit pause real quick, Matthew.
Yeah.
You got any funny stories from the river? Because I know
I hope some of my old leaders aren't listening. I've got some of the stories from the river. I've got some videos. I've got some funny stories. I mean, night rafting. Not supposed to do that, but me and the fellows took a raft down the river at pitch black night. So it was kind of like a test. How well do we know this river? Can we do this? Can we guide this river, this section of the river, without being able to see?
Can you?
Not very smart. Yeah, we did. We made it down fine. Golly, there's some stuff that I don't know if I want to put myself in that in that light with some of my old leaders, because they might listen to this, and I'm sorry if you are listening to this. I'm so sorry.
All right, I won't get you in trouble. I promise. Okay, so yeah, man. I mean, you talked about, being at JH and that second experience, JH, being the head river guide, that really got the wheels turning. Mm-hmm. And they said it wasn't until 26 is when you decided to be an actor.
Yeah.
So take me a little bit. From that time to making that decision.
Mm-hmm. Well, that because I was a head river guide for 2 summers, and I stayed in between the summers for like an off season up at JH Ranch, which is in Northern California. Mm-hmm. And I thought I would kind of know what I wanted to do after that, like during the summer of my first summer as head river guide. But I just didn't, I kind of felt the same after. And I had a lot of questions for God. I was pretty hurt by my own bad decisions and how he could, I was really mad at God, I think, because I was like, God, why would you like call me to your path and a life like, why would you want me to know you when you knew I was going to fail? Like I just felt like such a failure.
Yeah.
And, anyway, so I stayed on in the winter off season of JH Ranch.
Yeah.
And I essentially lived alone. I was in this house by myself. There was a couple people still on property, but you can imagine up in the mountains of Northern California where like a grocery store is like, almost an hour away. And there was a lot of alone time. And I said to myself, I was like, I'm not going to watch Netflix this entire time. I'll watch Netflix occasionally, but I'm not going to like just bury myself in movies and kind of distracting myself. I'm going to actually take a look at why it hurts so bad in the inside.
Matthew, dang, that's brave, man. That's bold.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because in that I came out with something that I maybe could have talked to someone about on a podcast or honestly preached about from the stage, but I didn't know in my heart. And that was that I am already a son. Like, I think like when it comes to my walk with, and me following God and me wanting to serve him, I think I always kind of felt like this pawn in this, I'm always like not good enough and I'm always trying to like get in his good graces. And I think what I came out of that realizing was that I actually am enough. I am enough. And I'm like, and like the lingo that when I pray to him, it's like son, like father and son. Like I'm one of his kids is kind of how I see it. Mm-hmm. And that carried with it an acceptance, I think is what was really impactful to me. And I think I stopped trying to be accepted. Mm-hmm. And I call that my season where manhood found me, because it's like when you stop trying so hard and you're like, I'm just actually going to try. I'm not going to try for everyone to think I'm a good person. I'm just going to be one. Whew. And if they think I'm a good person, awesome. Love that. Yeah. If they don't, dang, that sucks. But nothing's going to change. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. And when I cleared my mind in that way, when I was like, okay, I'm not going to try to win people over anymore. Or I guess maybe I said that for the first time in my life. I went on a journey of that. I felt acting. And it was such a random thing that I had never thought of once in my whole life. Mm-hmm. You can ask all the people that I grew up with. They'd be like, yeah, Matthew was probably the last person that we could imagine being an actor, which is just so funny to me. Yeah. Just I'm like, I agree. I am the last person that should be an actor. And yet here I am. So it was one of those seasons. And I, as I was praying to God, I was like, God, I need you to make acting. If that's something you want me to do, I need you to make it clear. And I had some pretty crazy moments after that, where a guy walked up to me at a wedding and was like, dude, I just got this random question. Do you want to come act with me this summer? This was like literally a couple of days after I had this like moment where I thought about acting. And then I had another guy call me on the phone and say, dude, I had this thing. I was cooking dinner and I just thought, what if you moved to LA and became an actor? And I was like,
is this real? Is this mic on?
Like, what? Is mic on? That's my calling. Yeah. But so I think that was enough for me to go, okay, you know what? I don't know if I'm hearing correctly. I'm at least going to give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and so what was that process like? I'm going to give it a shot. I mean, for people who don't know, what does that mean? I mean, that in itself, I mean, you talk about the vulnerable moment of saying, I'm not going to watch Netflix when I have majority of my time by myself, and I'm going to actually figure out who I am. That's a vulnerable. And then the next, so that's a private one. And then the public one of like bearing your soul and learning how to not be so too what's the wording I'm looking for? Self-aware enough to then communicate in a way that is powerful and meaningful, that actually is authentic, Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway.
I think that word, the last word you used, authentic, was what this whole journey and acting journey has been about. And, the ironic thing about acting, which I didn't know, is acting is not about pretending. It's not about tricking the audience. It's actually about being authentic, having a real experience in that moment. where you're actually experiencing something. And then the moment ends and you realize that was just your imagination. It wasn't real. But you actually do go through it. It's not like I'm going to fake this facial expression, It's
right.
like that's what
the audience can tell. The audience, someone who loves movies, you can tell.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Humans are so we're so in tune with any threats. Like, for example, someone trying to manipulate us, and how we do that is we watch and see if people are lying, see if we believe them. So you can imagine, like, human beings so good at that. And then you like watch a movie, we're already subconsciously looking for that. We're looking for when people are faking it. So it's tough. It's tough to really live that stuff out because you have to really get over yourself. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to answer your question, I keep diving off the question, but it was one of me going, okay, I'm going to suck at something. Like,
wow. That's huge. Wow. Hold on. Step back. That is a big deal. How many men, especially in our 20s, are willing to do that? I'm going to totally embrace the suck, basically. I'm going to embrace the discomfort, and I'm just going to suck at it and see what happens.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of people will do that. I know I avoided it. Yeah. For sure. I realized that I had to go on a process where I could get to where I could actually truthfully say that. To where I was like, actually, life is either we're like this gigantic cliff jump and this massive adventure where we're just going, okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to live this the best of I can with integrity, but also like I'm jumping off the cliff. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what acting. I walked into the first day of drama school and I was like, where am I? Like, what am I doing? And like some of the people there, they're artists. They're so not like me. Like they're so not like anyone I knew in Mississippi. And I'm like, I am so far away from home. But it was one of the best experiences of my life because in that, like and this is what I've learned about acting. It's like, it's where I've learned that I'm loved by God. And that's actually what I felt like God told me. He asked me a question one time. He was like, Matthew, why do you think I created you to be an actor? And I was like, I don't know. I just answered some dumb answer. And he was like, it's because it was the path where I saw you'd be able to receive the most of my love. And I know that's been true because the whole time I've been like, holy smokes, I feel terrible. I feel like I suck at acting. I feel like I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm so locked up. And in that, God has been able to like speak in that I actually am enough, And I think that's, as guys, that's something that enough thing is something that's kind of always there. Like I'm not enough. I didn't measure up here. I'm not the top dog right now. I kind of feel like the middle dog or the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah. Comparing yourself constantly to others.
Totally.
What does success look like in whatever environment I'm in?
Yeah. Totally, man. Totally. So.
Yeah, dang. So yeah, man. So you got into acting and you did drama school. It was in Reading, right?
I did 3 years of drama school and 2.5 years.
2.5
of drama school in Reading. Yeah. And then I started.
Yeah. So what was the biggest thing you learned from just doing that?
Oh gosh, I think truth and honesty. And I have been the irony of acting school.
Yeah.
I have tried to implement that in my life and I've tried to be so honest because I realized the nice Southern boy in me was very polite and he was there was a facade there, dude. It was like, I saw myself, kind of the picture I saw of myself was me with all these tattoos. I don't have a tattoo. But this is kind of like the picture I had in my head, and all these tattoos I had on myself were things that I had defined who I was in relation to this person, who I thought I might become, my best case scenario, what I wanted people to see about me. And I think acting has been the taking off of those and going, I just am me. I like these things. I like to hunt. I like to do outdoorsy. I love everything dude. I've always liked dude stuff, like I like working out. I like hunting. I like fighting. I like watching MMA, I just like it all.
Yeah.
And, that's actually been an interesting journey in LA. The first week I got here, I was like, dude, a lot of things that I really value are taboo for some of these people in this industry. Like, for example, turkey hunting. But I took a drive and I actually did listen to George Strait. And I listened to George Strait, the song Run. And it was like, as I was listening to it, it was like 4 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And I was feeling so like icky in LA. And I realized as I was on that drive and kind of through the song, I was like, if I attain anything in this city and it's because I put up a facade, it's literally worth nothing. I have to be honest. And if by some miracle or some stroke of luck, something positive happens, I'll know that it was me that got it. And it wasn't my perfectionism, like perfect Matthew, as I kind of like call it sometimes.
Yeah.
And the lingo is I was like, LA needs to know turkey hunting Matthew.
That's good.
Like they got to know that I like the turkey. And it's funny because I'll drop that sometimes around people in the industry. Like I was talking to this big actor. I'm talking like big actor. And I'm on this set and I'm like, man, this has been pretty nervous. My first set ever. And they're kind of like half of them are all vegan. Love that. Great. I nothing against that. I happen to love meat. And one of my favorite things to do is hunt. Like I like to kill animals.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I can't hide right now. And I was like, you know what? Like one of the things I love to do is turkey hunt. It's one of my passions. It's how I kind of like spend my free time. And they're all kind of like looking at me wide eyed. And this one dude goes, dude, the biggest actor. He goes, dude, I went on a pronghorn hunt last year. And I was like, are you serious, dude? And so we just start talking.
Yeah.
Like, this dude's probably like hiding that he's a hunter too.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, come out of the closet, man. Your hunting closet. Dude, let's just be open out here.
Dude, that is awesome. You give people permission to be themselves by being yourself. That is
so real.
In a place that is fairly known. I mean, I only know by, really what social media puts out and what the world is that LA is a fake. A lot of people are fake out there. And here you are throwing out world and said, I'm just gonna be me and I'm going to give you permission to be you. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, man.
So I would love in drama school, was there a moment where some assignment or something where you got up in front of a crowd or something and went, I can do this. I've got it. I know how. I think I can do this the rest of my life. I actually am good at this. I wasn't just hearing some voice. I was actually hearing God's voice for this.
Yeah. There was a couple that I know there was one where I had to do this exercise. It's called This Is My Stage. And you literally, the assignment is you get in front of the class and there's like all these different points of the stage. You walk to one, you say, this is my stage. You walk to another, you say, this is my stage. You walk to another, you say, this is my stage. And I did the exercise once, or I think I got up there and I was like really nervous. And I remember I took a moment to myself and I was like, this one's for the people that I love. Like, I'm not going to do this one for me. I'm going to do this one for the people that I love. And I'm going to actually throw off anything that I have to like protect myself, like that would make me want to look good. And I did the exercise. And at the end, I kind of blacked out in the middle of the exercise. And like the person who was leading the exercise was like, scream it. And I was like, this is my stage. And the guy gets up. He's actually one of my dear friends now, but his name is Fabiano.
Yeah.
He walks up to me and he goes, bro, do you know what you carry in your voice? There's something about your voice. And he goes, you've got what it takes. I don't know what it is about you, but there's something, you've got what it takes. And in that, I felt like, okay, that's all I needed. I held it loosely because I was like, in the entertainment industry, there's compliments everywhere and there's criticism everywhere. But at the same time, it was from like a guy who is like a spiritual father to me. And or I guess I'm a mentor would be a better word. And it meant something. I was like, okay, that's enough. I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
And then I did a play that year too, where I like was really nervous about that. But then once the nerves fell off, I was like, oh, I was made for this. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life.
Woo.
So,
yeah. So yeah, man, I mean, tell me a little bit about, just where you are now. What's exciting you? What are you learning? What's life like for Matthew now? So,
dude, it's all a journey and a process. You know, I graduated drama school. I graduated from that drama school in May. And then I got to be, I was on set for a film in July, which was pretty cool. And since then I've been back in LA. Yeah. I did a short film a little while ago with some friends, but I've been part of this class. And so essentially I've been kind of like tucked away here in LA, just, but I've been grinding in my class, just like trying to, that's my goal, is to become a better actor. I'm honestly not trying to achieve anything shiny. I want to be the best actor that Matthew can possibly be. Yeah. And so, I've been doing that. I've been hanging out with some good people here, trying to sneak away and hunt as much as I can. And, just kind of like take this whole life in and just try to live as honestly as I can. And that's looked like a few different things about just like having some cool conversations with some people, but that's kind of what life looks like. It's pretty, I do something on the weekend too, a little weekend gig, a little weekend job, but
what's it like being on a movie set?
Dude, nerve wracking. It's like a traveling carnival. It's like, it's a traveling, it's crazy, man. For me, it was exhilarating, and it led me into like even more asking myself more honest questions about who I was. But it was also something I was like, dude, I definitely want to do this the rest of my life. I had little bitty tastes. After that, I was like, oh, this is all I want to do. I want to work in acting. I want to do theater. I want to do film, TV. I don't really care as long as I'm acting. And, I can do it for free. I always try to like make myself have that mentality. Like, okay, what I'm doing right now, could I do it for free? Yep. Okay. I'm good. Cool. I love this stuff.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I think what a lot of guys feel when they've had big moments like yourself of discovering more of who they are and who God is and finding their calling and what they want to do the rest of their life, that's the arrival point. But you, man, they're still learning. You're still growing, honing your craft, but there's also more of just confronting yourself.
Totally, man.
That's just such a powerful revelation, Matthew, that still here you are. You're still like growing as a man as well as an actor,
100%.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's so cool.
100%.
Well, yeah, I mean, the last question I usually like, so what would you tell your 25-year-old self that you know now?
Two things.
Yeah.
I would say, attack anything that causes you to feel shame in your life.
Woo, that's good.
And how you do that is through honesty. Be as honest, brutally honest with the people that you care about in your life. You don't have to be honest with everybody. Like, you don't have to reveal all your deepest, darkest secrets to the world. But it is really important that you like living in truth. I guess I can only speak for myself, but when I felt like all of me was out on the table, I felt like I actually could think straight. The fog was gone, and I actually felt loved by those people. Like I actually felt like I was accepted and enough by the people because I was like, they see it all. There's nothing in me that can say if they only knew.
Right.
And I think that's really important. And for me, shame is crippling professionally, relationally, spiritually, emotionally. So, and maybe even physically. There's no telling what that mentality does to your gut or whatever.
Yeah. Or even just like your whole body positioning. It just like, yeah.
Totally. So it's so important. If you've this is what I'll say. And I would say it to myself. I would say, if you've got a secret, get it out.
Yeah. Huh.
Get it out and be honest, because everybody's got some, and that's okay. And life happens to us sometimes, and it's worth living in truth.
Right.
That's how we're designed to live. We're designed to live in truth with nothing hidden.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
So good,
man.
Well, where can people find you? What's a good resource?
On TikTok. Just kidding. No, I do have a TikTok, but my friends had it, so I just made it as kind of as a joke. But you can follow me on Instagram at the Matthew Blade. Yeah. So you could also, I have a couple hunting accounts, but those are secrets. I can't tell you.
We don't want those public. Okay, got it.
Those are private for a reason. But you can find me on. And I mean, the movie I did is coming out this spring. It's called The Walk, and so that should be out at some point this spring. And I play a really troubled, hurt kid who tends to go to violence. It was a fun character to play.
Oh wow! You throw a little fisticuffs a little bit. You got to stop.
I had to fight a kid, and I did my own stunts for that. And then I also accidentally I got to say this one last thing before we go. This is crazy. On the film set, this is where I actually knew I could do it. I had what it took. I have the scene where I have to essentially try to kill this kid. He's on a bus. He flicks me off. I'm a rioter outside this bus. And the script says, I'm going to kill you. And the script directions say my character loses control, jumping up, trying to break the bus. And it was supposed to be just kind of like a bang on the bus type thing. But I was like, I'm going to send this. I'm going to go all in. So they were like, action. And I told the guy I was acting with, I was like, hey man, just want to let you know, I'm going to hit this bus pretty hard. Just be ready. I don't want you to get hurt, but I'm going to do this lower window. He's leaning his head out the bus. It's like a double pane bus where you slide the window down. I run up and I go, and I go through 2 sheets of glass, but I stay in character and I fall down and I get up and I start ripping out glass with my hands and I start hitting the bus with and blood is all over the bus. I can feel blood dripping down my face. There's extras on the bus and they're starting to cry. Because they were so scared. And I was looking at him, talking to him, I'm going to kill you too. And the director calls cut and everyone's like, I'll never forget their faces, man. They were like, are you okay? And I can feel the blood dripping down my head. I had to get my head kind of patched up. I don't know if you can see the scar, but it was a moment where I don't know if it was great for the movie and the fact of me accidentally breaking a window. And I don't know if the shot looked super great. It was mainly on my other actor friend. But in that moment I left there and I go, I know I'm in it 100%. Yeah. I know that I don't have to throw my body through a window. That's not what I'm I don't need to do that for this, but I know in me, I'm willing.
Right. Yeah.
So that was a cool, but anyway, that's a movie called The Walk. It's coming out in spring. So
awesome.
If you see it, go check it out.
Absolutely. The Walk. But being willing to, whatever you're in, I'm going to give 100% to it. Wow. I'm going to be here fully present. If that's not a message for men to hear, wherever you are, be 100% there. Marriage, as a dad, work, don't be, a divided man. I don't know. Jesus said something about a divided heart or something, but yeah.
That's really good,
man.
Always be 100%. Totally agree.
Well, speaking of 100%, thank you, Matthew, for sharing your story, giving it all, man. That was good.
Oh man. Thank you so much for the invitation to come on.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to Men Are Forged podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go to Apple Podcasts. Please rate and review Men Are Forged podcast, as well as go to menareforged.com and subscribe to the email list and receive up-to-date interview show notes. Thank you for listening.